We have big updates today. Let's start off with the fact that we have some news on the Meteora Airdrop. Also, the US dollar index is climbing, creating weakness in the markets. Bitcoin is at a critical level and $111,000 is a support line to watch. In altcoins, ETH is looking good, and there are DCA opportunities for Sol, Sui, XRP, and even Bonk. It was a busy week, so let's dive into it. Firstly, let's start here, the cryptocurrency market state visualization. It's a whole lot of red. BTC's down a little bit, Sol's down more. Hype has gone down quite a bit. Meanwhile, one thing to keep an eye on is the fact that the difference between the longs and the shorts is so much more attention here. So what we might see is because there's more shorting power right now, we might see a pretty quick reversal. That's what we tend to see when it's so weighed in one direction. Unfortunately, daily exchange volume has decreased, so we're not kind of entering into this phase immediately, but hopefully soon. And our fear and greed's at 65. The US dollar has gained some strength. We'll go over that in a second, but this, of course, will make the markets, the more risky markets, react. Basically, the tariff agreement that happened between Europe and the US means that Europe's going to buy weapons and some other stuff. And that basically means the euro is a little bit weaker now in the interim, and the US dollar is stronger. But I think this doesn't hold for too long. Trump has gone ahead and raised tariffs from 25 to 35% for Canada, which also adds uncertainty into the market. And then we can see that with the S&P 500, with a little bit of a dip there, the NASDAQ, a little bit of dip there. But remember, we're still in all-time highs. It's not up only every single day, nothing's financial advice, but like the cycle is so much oomph in it, but people will be getting scared by these small little things. Bitcoin, unfortunately, has broken down past its 7-year resistance level, and probably the next place to go and buy would be around $111,000. So we can come on down to around this line here, and then we've got our lows, and that's our trend line. If we break down past that, it's not going to be good. But I think we're going to bounce before that, but you could set some there. Meanwhile, USDT dominance, we saw it came down, came up again, and then came down a little bit, and now it's actually broken through. So we actually have to wait and see what the market does. We don't want to go and bet, in my opinion, in one direction or the other. We have to see if this starts to break down, we want to get back into our altcoins. But we do have some idea on where we would go into our altcoins. For example, and remember, like, more news on Meteora shortly, but you can go and use bid-ask systems. I've got so much content on Meteora. Meteora is such a key thing to generate fees and to minimize your risk. And it's far better than leverage trading if you're not like watching the markets all the time. Now, right now with ETH, from its recent low to its recent high, we haven't even come on down to the first fib level. So we've still got some strength in ETH, which is good to see. Of course, if you want to, you can start to bid the dip, but you may want to put in a set of bins that aren't even at present being utilized. And if it comes on down there in US dollars, then it starts to get filled and fills, hoping for, of course, a jump off one of these fib levels. Sol, on the other hand, has actually gone down further, and it's at its 0.5. So we need to bounce off this, which is quite common. Otherwise, you can bid the dip down here as well, because you can see that we're generally, like, a lot of stuff is happening with Sol. Do we stay down here for very long? I doubt it. Sui has a little bit more strength as well. It's hanging on to the 0.382 fib. So there's a little bit more strength here right now. XRP as well, bit of strength there. And SBX is in the same boat. It's come on right back down to the 0.5 level fib. Quite often, the 0.5 level is a good place to put in some bids. Pingu is also showing an insane amount of strength. And I did a video on Meteora, which basically showed a massive range, which doesn't generate a whole lot of fees, but it does have potential upside in the future. And I really do think you should watch that video. It's very, very good. But same thing again, setting some orders at these different fib levels or DLMMing the range with a bid system. So a little bit of capital, more, more. And if it bounces up again, you just remove the capital and reutilize it elsewhere. Bonk, unfortunately, has already jumped down to its 0.5 level fib. It was showing quite a bit of strength, and then it's briefly passed. Bonk is still going to do really, really well, but this all relates to probably the Launchpad wars. So we're down here. We need to hang on to this. Same deal. Bid the dip if you want to. Graphite protocol, this is also hanging on to its 0.5 level. So many things are just sitting there. The fibs, like, they work in a marvelous manner. And this only goes up if Bonk really starts to succeed in terms of let's Bonk. Useless is just touching the 0.5 or almost touching the 0.5. However, Farcoin is one that we're more keen on because this looks like a perfect trend to DLMM or to buy some if it goes lower and then just take profits as it comes up again. Looks strong for a few months now. That's where I think it'd be best to put some capital. Now we've got this from the US SEC. So the chair, Paul Atkins, they released an article on Project Crypto. You have the right to have self-custody on-chain software systems in our securities markets. And this goes over all the key points. So this is bullish for crypto and people actually being allowed to actually have their crypto. Back to Solana. So Solana's getting really hardcore into this internet capital markets. It's getting a whole lot of traction. And I think this is the narrative that they're going to be pushing. The way I think it works with Solana is they do push a narrative. And it's a marketing narrative and it makes sense, or sometimes it makes sense. But essentially, I think you're going to see a whole lot more stuff that's not necessarily trading per se, although trading will happen, that will come onto Solana. I'm really hoping we start to get more tokenized stocks. Solana ETFs eligible for approval by September 17th. So ETF news also very, very promising. And in terms of the amount of CME active trades, July was very, very high. Very, very high. It was the highest month thus far. Next, we've got Michael Saylor wanting to buy more Bitcoin. Of course he is. This is always what he's going to do. Raise. And I hope that it never implodes. Meanwhile, Coinbase is now in like the top 10 of US companies in terms of their Bitcoin holdings. Brian Armstrong himself would have an insane amount, but for the actual company, this is what they have right now. They just keep on adding more and more. Circle, which is a company that puts USDC onto the network, that's coming soon to Hyperliquid, so native USDC. Surprised it didn't have it like earlier, but it's coming soon, which will be really, really good. And Spot Bonk is now available to trade on Hyperliquid. So if you want to, I wouldn't suggest that. Just do it on Solana. But if you want to try and farm Hyperliquid, you can do that here with this as well. Meteora has gone ahead and they've released Points Checker. There are a lot of suggestions in terms of what will the pricing be. So we'll go over that in a second. But just go and connect your wallet, and then you have to verify the wallet, and then it'll show you. If you change wallets to another wallet, maybe use multiple wallets, you need to disconnect the wallet, reconnect it, and verify each time. Otherwise, it will show an error. Now, Green Maxi crunches some numbers, and he thinks if you have 1 million points, it will be an airdrop worth around $234. I think Meteora will do quite well, and I don't have an insane amount of points, not as many as I'd like. I'm seeing some people out there with like 500 million or something quite sizable, and a couple of people with a few billion as well. So we need to kind of work out what the expected FTV would be and what kind of buybacks. I don't think any token's going to do notoriously well unless there is a buyback. I think we've seen this with Pump. If it's governance or whatever, governance were too early. But this is what we're looking like here. Plus, I don't know all the key tokenomics on this in terms of the amount of circulating supply at launch. I'm hoping it's over 33%, but for some reason, I don't think it's going to be that, but I hope to be wrong. Bonk Guy is going to be doing an AMA in the cryptocurrency Reddit, which is massive, on August 4 to 6. So this could be one to watch in terms of getting more people into Bonk and some of his other tokens that he likes. Useless, Bonk, Farcoin. Next, we've got Moonit, which is a launchpad where memes can just be launched just automatically. I haven't played around with it, but this is kind of connected to Web 2, where someone creates a meme and then they try and just push it out. It's got a whole lot of engagement, so it might be something that you want to check out, but I haven't played with it myself, not yet. Meanwhile, in terms of the actual launchpads, the dominance of Let's Bonk.fun is still high, but it has dropped a little bit. We did see that Pump had decreased quite a bit at one stage, but it's starting to claw back. And I believe they're basically taking all of their income and they're just buying back the token, the actual Pump token. I think Pump could have a bottom in, by the way, not financial advice, but maybe it's worth buying some and also just buying at spot and just having an ask in Meteora. Pulse is shipping now as well, so make sure you've updated your address. And this lucky person already has their Pulse, so hopefully I get mine. The last thing I want to cover is Toy Machine. This is really, really looking good. It's powered by Meteora and Helios Labs. And also, if you use Solflare, then you get a bonus. This is all about testing it, getting some points, but essentially it will require its own tutorial. What I really like about this is quite a few people can go and jump in. So just jump into these Discords. I imagine there is something already coming or something already there, and you can go ahead and you can get some Sol on DevNet and just go and launch a token just to see how it works. But essentially, it's like a system where you put in some Sol and you get a raffle of a certain number of tokens. And sometimes you might get 100 million tokens, other times you'll get 1 billion for the same amount before it bonds. So it's got this really cool kind of casino mechanism. Pure gambling, which is basically why we're in the trenches. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.